This video is brought to you by the Guitar Skyhook. Alright, we're back with Artist Talks Nerd Alert with Bill Laurance, the piano player. And I was talking to you about your career, and now I'd like to know a bit more about nerdy stuffs. And you use a rhythm box drum machine when you play live, and somebody talks about this. You can't swing with a drum machine. What's your opinion on that?
It's tricky. I think when you're playing solo with a drum machine, that is, it's one of the things I've found challenging, is to make the drum machine not just be on and off, and for it to feel more responsive. When you're playing with a drummer and a drum machine, like my drummer Marius Alexa, that to me is suddenly a whole new world of possibilities, where he's also, he's setting the drum machine off and he's affecting it with delays and stuff, but also kind of tweaking the faders whilst also improvising around the drum machine. And to me, that's a really sort of fascinating world of possibility. Where you kind of get the kind of digital pulse juxtaposed with a really free improvising drum solo. I mean, I think that's a whole new world. Yeah.
Well, when you compose a song, do you put on a drum machine, or do you sit by the piano and get a tune? How do you work on composing?
Yeah, I find setting off a pulse can be a really inspiring way. I mean, I think it's just kind of being open to lots of different approaches. Sometimes I might be walking along and use the tempo of my walk as a backbeat, and then I'll whistle into my phone a melody or something.
Like your father's whistle.
Like my father's whistle, yeah. Or, I'll just find a chord progression that I like, and then perhaps the chord progression will inform a particular sort of time signature, and then that will inform a particular groove. So there's no kind of set way I kind of do it, but I think the only sort of rule is to allow for each idea to kind of be open to informing another idea in a different way, and so just kind of trying to keep that your ears open like that is the trick.
But you've got a home studio, and that's where you compose your music. But you did compose a lot of songs on tour as well.
I do. I also find that being on the road is a great place to write, where your environment is constantly changing, and where you're experiencing new things all the time, new people, new languages, new food, new smells. It's a really inspiring time. But also I find the act of motion to be a really useful tool. So I'll often write, most of Flint I wrote on the back of the Snarkey Puppy tour bus on a little MIDI keyboard, and I'd just be sat in the back with my headphones on.
Is that your setup, just a MIDI keyboard, or have you a computer as well, or how does it work?
Yeah, just on the laptop. I just, run Logic, and I just kind of put the parts together within Logic. And then I just watch America, the United States just passing by. And and often those kind of open landscapes, I would inspire a particular kind of open chord progression, or and just trying to use those things. Equally, another track of mine, U-Bahn, was written on a German train, and I used the rhythm of the train as the kind of BPM.
Did you sample it?
I didn't sample it, but I recreated the kind of groove in the drum drum part of the rhythm of the train. And again, it's just like kind of honing in on those moments where there are rhythms or melodies coming at you, and just kind of soaking them up and then reappropriating them.
Yeah, but when you go in your own studio, nothing happens. What do you do then?
So I try to take ideas into the studio. I find if I start in the studio, it's at least I have a seed anyway. But equally, software or a different instrument can lead you down a different path. I'm a very sort of novice guitarist, but I find that's been a really useful place to start other sort of compositional ideas. I just wrote a film score on guitar, and it was because of my sort of basic playing, you know, I found harmonic progressions that I would never have found at the piano in a way, you know, because so it's just again just changing the goalposts.
Yeah.
And the tools with which you use to find those goalposts, and then you know you might find another way through.
Yeah, I always say that when you buy a new instrument, there's a new song in it because it's got a new sound that you get inspired.
There it is.
As it is. So you got a different keyboard sounds, I've heard. Or you also got a few different keyboards, have you?
I do.
Yeah.
You can never have too many keyboards.
No.
I would say.
No.
I think I've got about 20. And they're mostly analog. I find, you know, that's really where the juice is.
Yeah.
And my first ever synthesizer was a Juno 106.
Yeah.
And I love it to pieces.
Yeah.
And I use it all the time. I put it all over my latest studio album cables. And then I've got a Mellotron and a Prophet, and then I'm really interested in putting acoustic sounds through guitar pedals, and trying to, you know, I was working with Nick Hard, my mix engineer, on the last studio record Cables, and we were putting the piano through a bunch of different effects pedals, and you know, more than sort of any kind of digital sound, if you're getting an analog sound and putting it through an actual pedal, that generates a completely unique sound.
Yeah.
You know? That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So you're very much into sounds.
For sure. This last album, Cables, was all about a more sort of sonic experience. I wanted it to feel like virtual reality for the ears.
Yeah.
And when you listen with really good headphones, you're kind of being transported somewhere else. Like that
Yeah.
was the whole idea. So we spent a long time mixing that album to really kind of, you know, achieve that. And I think we got there, but it was quite an arduous process in the post-production, more than any previous record. Just kind of really drilling down on all the different sonics and, you know, trying.
But do you use sounds in the machine as well? Do you use VSTs instruments, or is it only outboard gear?
Occasionally, yeah. There were a few things that I'd done in Logic that I wanted to keep, but the majority I've replaced with sort of analog synthesizers or instruments. But yeah, I mean, I think you can get away with some. I find if you do everything in the box, it just kind of, by its nature, it doesn't have, you know, the kind of audio material feels flatter. You know, it's kind of more digital, and so I think anything that's tangible that you can really feel the physical effect of the audio hitting you. Yeah. I prefer.
Yeah. So that's the way you approach composing as well, is that the sounds inspires you.
That's right. Yeah. Finding new sounds. You know, I always say I haven't achieved what I'm looking for if I hear something I've heard it before. You know, I'm always kind of going back and asking and listen again, and is that a new sound? Is that something I haven't heard before? And if the answer is no, then I keep working.
But lots of people goes like, oh, it sounds like a piano, that's what I want, or an organ or something like that. So they got basically 6 different sounds to choose from. But you're going for sounds that's not really to choose from. I mean, you've got to find them yourself, or invent them.
I think so. I think you have to just keep pushing. I mean, another thing, I'd run my piano through a delay pedal, an MXR delay pedal with a mod on it. Yeah. And so it's an acoustic piano sound, but it kind of sounds like a synth as well. Yeah. And so that, again, it's like, that's an interesting crossover to me, where you're...
So if you sit down by a keyboard, I brought a very special keyboard here, which is some old stuff.
Yes.
And you're into keyboards, so you're trying to find a different sound. So when I listen to you play, I sometimes ask people whether they got a favorite chord, but I don't hear you start with a chord like you typically do on a guitar. More like you approach a scale or something. Is that a scale you usually start in? Because I'd start in a C major, because that's all the white ones, and that's easy. But what do you do?
Again, I'm not sure there's a specific rule as per se. Let me find that tune. were talking before about the sort of approach to harmony, and
yeah.
you know, I did all the scales and the grades,
yeah.
so I have an understanding of how the harmony relates and how the theory works. But now that I have that understanding, what I'm trying to do is kind of let go of the harmony, and you know, so rather than thinking of a A flat major chord, I'm thinking of a feeling, you know, like a sense of optimism or something.
Yeah.
And then like almost kind of trying to shift chords like smudging colour.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking I'm going to play F minor, then C minor, then D flat.
Yeah. But you feel like I need to move the middle finger because it's around that tone I need another color or something.
Yeah. So I guess we were saying this before. I think I'm thinking in terms of phrasing and melody to inform a new harmony.
Yeah.
Rather than you know.
Yeah, like pop music.
You know.
Yeah.
And so instead, I'm thinking. I'm trying to maybe pick a note within that chord.
Yeah.
And make a melody of it. So maybe the C. And then. It's anything really, but it's kind of like the melody is informing where I could go harmonically.
But you're thinking the melody now. You're inventing a melody, and you put the chords that fits to it. Live or what?
Yeah, that's it. But then also trying to approach harmony in a sort of more legato way. So I like chords where you're kind of shifting one note at a time.
Yeah. Have you been in a church playing on the organ?
Yeah.
How's that?
No, it's wonderful. My first experience of a real gospel church was in Dallas, Texas, and it was an utterly life-changing.
Oh, you got a keyboard player from there.
Moment. Corey Henry is one of the guys, and then Sean Martin, and Bobby Sparks, and Bernard Wright, also from Dallas, who played on the second record. Just experiencing music in that context was a completely life-changing moment to see music and faith come together in that way, and I think we've definitely inherited that as a band, of the kind of desire to celebrate the opportunity to make music together, and as an opportunity to find a higher plane when we play together, and I think that aspiration is very much, to me, very much comes from the gospel tradition, and it's definitely kind of been informed, has informed Snarkey, and it's
you're not a religious band like that, but you're inspired by the church, like Whitney Houston or Elvis Presley, or in that sense.
Yeah, I think just pushing or searching for that higher plane, being open to that idea of trying to kind of get to a higher place,
I can hear a James Brown shouting, do you see the light?
Do you see the light?
That's where
you did. Did you see the light? Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, I think that for me was a real sort of light bulb moment where I kind of recognised the true power of music, when it's kind of together with faith like that. And it's kind of, it made me think, well, why not have that aspiration in any genre? It's like that's really, it's to lose ourselves is what we're kind of, lose ourselves in the music, be transported somewhere else to another place, and I think that's what I'm searching for when I'm playing all the time.
But touring around the world, you must have had a few funny stories that you still remember.
You know, I remember we were in Flint, Michigan, actually, and that was the inspiration of my first record, Flint, and I was working on this song at the time, and I'd only been to America a couple of times, and I'd never been to Flint. And I got on stage, and it was unbelievable that I'd never experienced this sense of appreciation from these people in Flint who were just so warm and grateful for us going to play for them. And I remember them saying to me after I got off stage, they were like, "Hey England, hey England, hey England, you sound great, man. You know, thank you so much for coming." And it was just this kind of, it was just such a profound warmth from the people, and I was working on this song at the time, and then I decided to call it Flint, and I called the record Flint, you know, because it feels like the beginnings of things, or I don't know, it seemed to kind of represent this, it was just a really profound gig, because I just never seen people appreciating music in this way, you know. It was they were so grateful and just completely kind of bowled over. But as far as like an anecdote of touring life, I met Stevie Wonder.
You did?
With while on the road with Snarkey Puppy. We found ourselves on a boat in the South China Sea.
Yeah.
And we were. It was a kind of bizarre context to be meeting Stevie Wonder, and I had the opportunity to meet him, and so I got in the queue and sort of took my turn to say something, and I got to the front of the queue, and I still didn't know what I was going to ask him, and I you know, what do you ask a guy like that? I just wanted to meet him, really.
Yeah.
So I got to the front, and he grabbed my hand and he said, "Hey, what's up?" And I said, "Hi." And the best I could come up with was, "I'm a young aspiring musician. You know, do you have any pearls of wisdom?" And he thought about it for a moment, and he squeezed my hand, and he said, "We are the glue of society, and it's our role and responsibility to bring love and unity to the planet." And, you know, going back to that thing about, you know, transcending or trying to find a higher plane, you know, I ever since Stevie told me that, that's, you know, I feel totally satisfied in my quest to achieve that, you know, and privileged to have such a kind of responsibility, you know, because it is the kind of the function of music is to kind of glue everything together, and that's kind of a profound realization that I had after chatting with Stevie, and ever since then I've kind of never looked at music in the same way. I see it as this kind of you know, hugely powerful thing that is ultimately the one universal language that we have. It's that, you know, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can speak music and somebody else can understand it, or appreciate it at least, you know, and that's a really powerful thing, and makes it, you know, the kind of the ultimate language, in my opinion.
Also, when there's no words on it.
That's right. I find particularly. I mean, I love song, but you know, I've always sort of gravitated towards instrumental music because there's a kind of there's a purity about it that I respond to. But yeah, be the glue.
I'm the glue. That's a good advice, actually. Yeah, I heard that you recently had a son.
Yes, indeed.
What's your best advice for him now?
Well, so the plan is I'm gonna get him on bass and then take him on the road. You know?
Yeah.
But it'll be a while before that happens. But I feel, having said all that about music, I do feel pretty biased and pretty adamant that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that my boy is a musician, whilst obviously not force feeding it, and you know, just. And I spoke to Robert Seawright about this because he brought a child of his to rehearsal like 13 years ago. He was like a 3-year-old kid, and he put him on his bass drum
Yeah.
leg, and so every time Sput's playing the kick drum, the baby's like bouncing up and down, and he's got the drum kit in his face. And then, sure enough, you fast forward 13 years, and that kid is a world-class drummer, and he's
He is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, he's just he's absolutely smacking.
But can you play the bass then? If you're gonna learn playing the bass.
Yeah, he plays bass. He plays trombone.
No, your son.
Oh right. Oh yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Well, that's it. I've got to sort of present it in such a way that is, allows him to work it out for himself. And, and I asked Sput, how do I do it? And he just said, keep giving him music.
Yeah.
Just keep giving him music. So that's what I'm going to do.
I just leave instruments around the house and see whether someone will pick it up.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And also, I think like taking them to gigs, like making them part of different sessions, and exposing them to musical experiences.
Yeah.
And in particularly live musical experiences, because that's really where the magic is. Is in the kind of the experience of something happening, a tangible audio signal coming at you.
Yeah. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
I would have to say Gonzalo Rubalcaba at Ronnie Scott's when I was about 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and it was the most remarkable piece of piano playing I'd ever seen, and I'd somehow got in underaged, and I was just I'd never heard anything like it. And the drummer, I remember, he looked like Guile from Street Fighter. He was like this huge guy, and he was just like drilling the toms, and I just could not get over it. I remember it just kind of like, that was just astonishing.
Yeah.
That was pretty spectacular. But then, Stevie's probably another one at North Sea. It was quite recent, and he's the true kind of great left. He's kind of the last one of the of that sort of generation, I feel like, and he's still going and he's still smashing it.
Yeah.
And that gig was proof that he's just still got it.
Yeah. He used to play drums on his records as well.
Oh,
yeah. And everything, actually. He was a fantastic player.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you play? You played a bit guitar, play piano. Do you play anything else?
So I'm a percussionist as well.
As well? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I often I think of the piano as a percussive instrument.
Yeah.
And because it is a member of the percussion family in an orchestra, and so I know it's almost like a bonus that it has harmony.
Yeah.
So I kind of.
But you never played drums.
A little, yeah. I never really established a good enough technique. But I play hand percussion. I play congas.
And do you program the drum machine then for some tracks?
Yeah.
You don't just take a beat and let it run.
No, most definitely. I feel quite specific about rhythm, and I feel like rhythm is often where I begin. Actually, it's kind of it's like a pulse.
Yeah.
And groove is kind of where I started as a musician when I was younger. I think just playing kind of rhythmic parts, or played a lot of Latin and reggae stuff, which is kind of quite rhythmic dependent. But,
ragtime as well.
And ragtime, yeah. And then jazz and swing, I think. And when I was playing solo in the restaurants, I'd have a tambourine on my foot, and that would be my drum kit.
Yeah.
So I always sort of rely on that independence rhythmically. But yeah, I think it's just about opening up to any musical possibility. Really.
Yeah, and let go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was all for Artist Talks Nerd Alert with Bill Laurance. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you Skyhook for the support. And remember to listen to other people's stories. You might learn something new. See you.